Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm Derek Lemaster.
This is Screen Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week. We go over the horror news. And Derek, for once, didn't use a weird nickname for himself.
Yeah,
You
what's up
feeling
with
okay?
that?
I was
feeling
going to
okay?
say I'm Dr. Love, but that's already taken, so I can't.
Damn
It
it,
is.
Derek.
It is taken. Kiss would probably be suing you. You know, anything that Kiss can do to make money, they're going to do it.
Yep.
That's funny.
So, how are you guys doing this evening?
I'm super tired. I went to my first ever plant swap today, and it was so much fun.
What did you say, Lydia?
I went to a plant
Wife swap. She went to a wife swap.
A plant swap?
Yes.
You're going to have to explain this because I don't understand.
So those who know me know that I'm a plant collector, a plant enthusiast, if you will. And it's a plant swap is just where you take like cuttings and little plants and whatever, and you go trade them with other people to get like new plants. And it's a good time. I've been wanting to do one for so long, and I finally got to do one. I loved it.
Like Pokemon cards?
Yes, it's so much
Kind
like
of,
Pokemon
yeah.
cards. Like it's so
You have
much
a
like that.
Charizard plant? I'll take that Charizard plant for my Pikachu plant.
Yes, I'm like, you have a variegated Epipremnum pinnatum. Can I get that for this? You know, like
Now you're just
All right,
just
Lydia.
doing Harry Potter spells.
There's level of nerdy. All right, and you just went way down here.
I am a nerd through and through. Horror, plants, you name it. Star
I'm kidding.
Wars.
You're not a nerd.
You know what? Sometimes the police are really big fans of plants. That's what they do with evidence sometimes.
Oh yeah. Right.
Don't arrest me. I'm kidding.
All right, so real quick, since I brought up like nerdiness, so this is fun fact. If you go on to YouTube Music and you type in Power Rangers theme song, it comes up and it says nerdy music.
It's like you might like this
Not
stuff.
A joke. Yeah.
If you're a nerd, you'll like this.
Yes.
That's great.
Yep.
That's great. Derek, how are you feeling this afternoon, evening? Good night.
I mean, if we were gonna put it on a scale of like 1 to 62, I'm gonna say I'm a 37.5.
I don't know why we'd ever do that scale, but cool. I guess that's a fair mood that you're in.
Yeah, we'll go with fair.
I had a good day. Busy. Watched the movie. Watched some other movies. Some classic 70s cinema. I've got to check out. You should check out the Yakuza if you've not seen it. It's good stuff. And ready to talk about It Follows because I haven't seen this movie in a while. It was funny when I clicked on it to watch it on Netflix. I had left off at a point. I was like, huh. Apparently, I started to watch It Follows not too long ago, but literally only got 5 minutes into the movie. Wonder what happened. Weird. So, guys, before we dig into It Follows, though, we've got to do what we do every week, and we've got to go over the horror news. Because I've got some kind of big stuff on this episode.
Really?
There's one piece of news that is going to blow you guys away. At least I hope.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
But first, let's start with this bit of news, which is Wrong Turn 2, or Wrong Turn creator Alan B. McElroy, who also wrote Halloween 4, by the way, is hoping to make 2 more sequels to the 2021 reboot of Wrong Turn. Did either of you guys see the most recent Wrong Turn?
I don't think so.
I haven't
seen
it
been a minute.
Since Joe Lynch did one. I haven't seen anything after that.
I think I saw the 4th one and was like, I'm done.
Yeah, so the first two are really solid horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
The second one especially is great. The first one I love because I used to watch it all the time as a kid, and it had Eliza Dushku, who was my biggest crush of all time at that point.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man,
yeah,
she was stunning, and I was just like, I love this movie.
Yes.
But yeah, they made like 47 of them, I think. So they remade it recently. The new one is a remake, a reboot, not a remake. It's a reboot of the series, essentially. And they want to do. He wants to do 2 more. I mean, how are you guys feeling about? He said he planned 2 more films, so it'd be a trilogy. I watched the new one. Wasn't huge on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll review them eventually. I watched it when it came out. I remember now because as I looked down at the article and they had like the trailer, I was like, oh yeah, it's where they do that weird thing. Okay, so
is the reboot called Not Another Wrong Turn?
No. It's called Right Turn.
Right Turn.
A slight frown.
Is it?
Yeah. Yes. It's called A Slightly Incorrect Turn.
Yeah.
A detour?
Detour. They do have a movie called Detour that stars Ray Wise, I do believe. So, I guess, Alan, if you want to make them, make them. We'll review them eventually. I mean, there's a lot of movies to watch, and there's 52 weeks in a year, so we'll probably get to them at some point.
So wouldn't that be a nice franchise to start, Derek?
Yeah. I would not be opposed to such a thing. Speaking of franchises, you led me right into this, Lydia.
Okay.
There is a new Amityville movie from Tubi called The Amityville Curse. It's an adaptation of Han Holzer's 1981 novel.
Oh, okay.
So they're actually going back to the novels of the they made a novel series after the first book. They made the first book, then they made a sequel that still followed the Lutzes. And then I think they did a little bit, the Lutzes were like main characters in several fiction books as well. But this is the 1981 one called The Amityville Curse. A group of friends purchase an infamous home with the intention of flipping it, only to discover a deadly paranormal presence built on destruction. Actually sounds okay. And it's a Tubi original, and you know how we here Scream Bloody Movies love Tubi. So
I said it always brings up the age-old question.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to ask me what it is?
What is it?
I thought you were just going to say it.
To be or not to be?
Oh, my gosh.
Oh,
Okay.
God. We waited for that? Turn down your mic again.
Yeah, just leave it. Just leave it down, actually.
That's rude.
Good Lord. I mean, we'll check it out, right? I mean, we've got to get through these Amityvilles. We've only reviewed the first one, and we were like...
I really just want to jump straight into Amityville Backpack.
We've got to get to it. We'll get to it. The Amityvilles is going to be like an entire season, to be honest, because there's
no kidding.
literally, I think, 25 of those movies.
Man, that could be its own podcast right there.
The Amityville Backpack. Can't wait
Man,
for that one.
If we didn't have kids or jobs, we could do like an Amityville marathon. How cool would that be?
Like one a day.
I don't know how cool it would be, but we'd give it a shot.
I mean, that's fair.
All right, guys. Moving on. Terrifier 3 is shooting later this year.
Yes.
And it has a much larger budget than the previous 2. So that's good news. It's expected to begin shooting in November or December with an aim of being released in late 2024. Derek, you have not seen these yet, have you?
Nope.
Maybe that's a good franchise to start at some point too. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Maybe someday.
Derek, have you seen that?
Not on June the 4th. It's not a good day to start that franchise.
He's not seen it yet, no.
I can't imagine Derek's just sitting down and watching it, honestly.
I remember. He'll be like, oh no, people are in peril. Oh,
yeah.
Let's fast forward, just like last week.
What?
You know, the little girl. You had to fast forward through the scene.
Oh yeah, that one. That's not fair. That's not fair.
Guys, we have a new image for the Nun 2. It's on its way. It releases September 8th. What do you guys want to see? The image isn't like too exciting, but it
Is
is
it the
on
Nun?
the way. It's not the Nun.
It's not
It
the
is
nun?
actually no. It's this.
Oh
Not
goodness.
just the Nun. It's this girl here. Good shot.
Yeah, yeah. I like the lighting.
That I don't know what's going on there. Maybe we don't need to know. It kind of.
Yeah.
And then there is a picture of the nun as well. There she is, looking
I
creepo.
was gonna say this is more like none yet business because I can't see her.
And then, of course, the sister is back as well.
Oh, she's back.
She is back. The plot of the new nun is not on here. I don't think. Oh, 1956 France. A priest is murdered and evil is spreading. That's all it says. Sister Irene, the nun follows Sister Irene as she once again comes face to face with Valak, the demon nun. So we need to do that movie eventually. We talked about it a little bit. Lydia, you were talking about how you're not sold on the idea for a sequel.
I'm not. I'm really not. I was a little let down by the movie. So
Yeah, well, we had high expectations because in The Conjuring 2, she's terrifying.
yes.
And is
exactly.
part of one of the very best set pieces of all time. So, they can't do that, I guess, for 120
That
minutes.
will
So.
Right.
never live in my house. Never.
I
Although
still
I will
think I
say,
wanna
if
do
I
that
were a
movie.
millionaire, what's that?
You should. Lydia's going to paint that and give it to you.
No, she's not. I will. I
I'll
will
put it
throw it
on your
away.
wall behind you right there.
I will
That's what you were
throw it
going to
away.
do. Yeah.
I will tell you, if I were a millionaire and I had money to just waste, I would definitely buy that and just send it to random people. I'd go through the index and this person.
That's
Do you
hilarious.
imagine?
Them.
Guys, this is some really interesting news. We don't know how true this is. This is a rumor being reported by Joe Blow, but the rumor has it that Paul Rudd and Pedro Pascal have been offered lead roles in director Todd Gormican's reimagining of Anaconda.
Oh my gosh, Anaconda!
Man, I'd love that. I would love to see those two. If it were a
that would
comedy.
be so fun. It's obviously with a comedic bent. I mean, the first movie that I think would be fun.
That
Man,
does
I don't
sound
know.
like
That's kind of a. Oh,
I mean,
remind me about snakes. All right, at the end of this, and I'll tell you a story.
Okay. We don't know much about this, but I would totally see a Anaconda reboot starring those guys. I would be 1,000% there.
Yeah, I'm
Dude,
in.
I would be interested in any movie that those two would do, except for probably that one. I don't know. I don't know.
I would love it. I like the first Anaconda. We'll have to do it sometime. It's a fun, cheesy B movie.
Yeah.
So you have to be in the mood for it, but
and it's like it kind of
kid.
takes itself serious too. So like having a comedy twist on that might be pretty fun.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, 2 more pieces. This next bit we've been talking about for a while. We have an image from Exorcist the Believer. It's not really an image of the movie. It's more of a behind the scenes shot. So it doesn't tell us much, but there's a little bit in here to see of the set. So here we go. You guys see that?
Yep.
No. I see it, but it's so small.
Derek is so far away from his screen.
Yeah,
I think
is.
is what the problem is.
There, can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
So there's David Gordon Green. There's a There's some kind of drawing on the ground. So I'm guessing they're going full occult on this one.
Oh yeah.
Just
How does that
to
make you guys feel?
just to jog everybody's memory. They did a test screening for this movie, right?
Supposedly, yes.
Terrible.
Supposedly it tested very poorly, yes.
Well,
but we weren't surprised because it also was like supposed to be shot, then there was not shot, then they cast a lead character after it was 2 days left. Remember all that kind of weird stuff? And then David Gordon Green released Halloween Ends. So it's just that's just the thing I hold against him. But it's I'm really scared about this movie, to be honest, because I just don't know what's going on with it. Like The Exorcist, we reviewed it, we covered it. What we liked about it was it took these supernatural elements and brought them into like a real world. The setting was very grounded. But if we're like introducing like runes and enchantments on the floor, I don't know, man. I don't know about all that. We'll see. Holding judgment. Maybe it'll blow us away and we'll be like, did you see The Exorcist the Believer? I'm a believer that this movie rules.
It's the last movie David Gordon Green ever does.
Now he's making 2 more of these guys, so well, if this one does well, I guess. I mean, I guess if this movie made $5, nobody would see it, but we'll hold off judgment. We'll hold off judgment and see. How do you guys feel?
We gotta see. We just gotta wait and see. It might be a masterpiece.
Maybe.
Sometimes when you have the studio messy, like kind of legal stuff, like drama with the movie, sometimes it turns out good anyway. So
sometimes, yeah.
I feel like
usually it turns out
had a struggle.
Messy.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've never heard of a movie ever turning out good when they do that. It could happen, Lydia.
I mean, there's some classics that
struggle. Yeah, that struggle. But I don't know. I don't know many classics that had like F, test screenings. But we'll see how that goes.
That's a good.
You're like Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber. No, I'm not trying to insult you. But you're that one scene where they're like, so you're just like, so it's like 1 in 1,000.
Yeah,
we're like 1 in 1,000,000. So you're telling me there's a chance.
That is me.
Hey, I want to be optimistic too. I like David Gordon Green, Halloween Ends notwithstanding, and I like The Exorcist, so I should like that combination. We'll see. But guys, here's the last piece of horror news, and buckle up, because secretly, John Carpenter has directed a new TV series called Suburban Screams.
What?
He directed it from his home. He directed it virtually.
What?
Directed remotely. A new TV series called Suburban Screams. It's called John Carpenter's Suburban Screams. It filmed in Prague, and he sat on his couch and directed it. It was awesome. That's what he says.
Whoa.
So we are going to be having a brand new John Carpenter show. He directed all the episodes of this.
I'm so confused. So here's the question that I have. What studio? Where's it going to air? Because that's actually important, I think.
It is going to air on, where was it? It doesn't say. Doesn't say yet.
Man,
it says that he is because he was doing a Q&A. So here's how we even know about this. He was doing a Q&A at Texas Frightmare, and they asked him if he'd be stepping back into the film and television arena. And he says, I just finished directing remotely a TV series called Suburban Screams. John Carpenter Suburban Screams. It was filmed in Prague, and I sat on my couch and I directed it. It was awesome. So that's all the information we have right now, is that John Carpenter directed a TV series from his couch, essentially. Basically, he did it.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why is John Carpenter so amazing?
I don't know. He just is because he's our deity.
Why? Why is he so awesome? That's like
Yeah.
that sounds pretty historical. Like
Yeah, I mean, he did it remotely. It was shot during parts of the pandemic. So instead of him, an elderly man traveling to Prague,
mhm.
he remoted in, and would walk the set. He would set up the actors, and he would direct via the screen.
That is the coolest thing I've ever heard.
I am optimistic. I can't wait to see what it looks like.
It's John Carpenter, baby.
I know.
We get
At
least
why I'm
some new
optimistic.
John Carpenter.
If this were anybody else,
content.
I would be so skeptical. But I'm gonna go with him, and I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm very interested to see how this turned out.
Well, I mean, it happens every once in a while. Did you know that Steven Spielberg edited Jurassic Park from Germany, and he also was approving dailies while shooting Schindler's List in 1993?
Whoa!
Can you imagine the budget that they had to have for the phone bills? That they had for them?
Yeah.
That was.
And can you imagine? Can you imagine the whiplash? He's on set filming Schindler's List, this horribly dark but terrible but uplifting story about Nazi Germany and the eradication of the Jewish people and their state, and he's approving dinosaur shots. Like, wow.
There's one thing I know for sure. That movie is going to get banned in Florida next month. I guarantee it.
Mm-hmm. Has to be. So, guys, I knew I wanted to end off the horror news with that bit of news. I figured it would excite us and get us ready. And it also leads perfectly into tonight's film, It Follows. Because It Follows is essentially a love letter to John Carpenter, and specifically John Carpenter's Halloween.
Yes.
So
it is not subtle.
No. No. It's about as subtle as anything I would do. That would be inspired by Halloween.
Yeah.
Or basically, it'd be as subtle as that Robert Englund movie that's set in Halloween Eve. I don't know what this is like.
Yeah.
Lydia, you picked this. Tell us about It Follows. Into you.
Yes. When this movie came out, me and Jake went to see it in the theater, went on a little date, and went and sat down. And I just remember it so vividly. Like, we just sat there and like watched the movie, and it was so effective to me. Like, it really kind of got like under my skin, and just like really, I was just kind of in love with it too at the same time. But I'll never forget when we left the theater. We were like, well, let's stop by Walmart and get a couple things here and there, whatever we needed. I forget about that, but like, so we get to Walmart, and I step out of the car, and it's dark out and everything. So I look up, and there's like a woman like walking straight at me, and I was like scared. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is actually really scary.
You know what?
Just anyone
to be perfectly fair, even if you didn't see It Follows, I'd be afraid of a woman walking towards me at Walmart as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, she had groceries, like she was walking to her car.
You never know at Walmart.
But she had that walk, like she was just walking directly in my direction. And it was like the most eerie thing. And that's part of the reason this movie really sticks with me to this day. And that's why I picked it, because I was like, this movie did actually scare me. That's pretty rare. So I got to talk about it.
Derek, what is this the first time you've seen It Follows? You're muted, by the way, big guy.
I promised myself I wouldn't do that this episode.
You promise yourself every episode.
Derek came to work with a different colored shirt on today, and was I'm a different person.
I know. I
trying to start fresh.
No nickname at the beginning, and then different shirt color. Thought we were going to get through.
Very professional, guys. I try to be very professional. So this is the second time I've seen this movie. The first time I saw this movie was a couple years ago. I just saw it on probably Netflix, and I was like, I'm going to give this a shot. So I watched it. So yeah, this is the second run. And I would have totally beaten her. Whatever it is.
Oh man.
Okay, we'll talk about it. I'm glad that you said that because if that clip taken out of context would be very bad.
I would totally have beaten her. Yeah, I guess that would have.
You got a beater on underneath that shirt, Derek? This is my second or third time watching it, maybe fourth. It's around there. I've seen it a couple times. I've seen it several times. The first time I watched it was I rented it after it had come out and checked it out. It was Sarah and I actually I think had just started dating, and I watched this by myself because she didn't watch it. Then the second time I watched it, she watched it with me. But I watched it and liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. And then I didn't watch it for a while, and I checked it out here and there. So this watch, I basically remembered everything that happened, but I was catching different nuances, and I think I learned more this time watching it. So I have a different opinion this time than I did the original. Because the first time it just was the experience of seeing it. This time I was able to glean more. So I'm actually excited to talk about this thing. Where do you guys want to start? The beginning, I guess, right, Derek? Because it has a really interesting opening.
Yeah, it does.
It's effective, but it's also kind of weird.
I mean, in retrospect, once you get into the movie, definitely, but like just fresh going into it,
Yeah.
you're really like it's kind of discombobulated. You don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I like that. I think that bit's
Confusing.
kind of effective, like not knowing. I think like the pacing of it's a little weird because you're just not. So horror movies usually, if they have a cold open kill, it usually kind of ramps up the tension, or at least ramps up the pace a little bit. Get your heart pumping, then you're in the scene, and then you cut to your titles, and then it slow burns. I mean, technically, kind of even Halloween does that, but this kind of follows that Halloween formula because, in Halloween we do open just with the point of view camera, and we don't know what the hell's going on, and then we see somebody get stabbed, and then we're cutting to the credits, and we're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And this one kind of has that similar thing where we see her, we know something's chasing her. We know she's afraid of something. And then she's just sitting on a beach with the headlights shining at her, which is a great image. And she's just telling her parents she loves them. And then we just get a smash cut to her like her all fucked up like a pretzel. What do you guys think of this opening?
I like it. I kind of had that reaction too of like remembering seeing that for the first time and being like, why on earth is she wearing like stilettos in her pajamas? Like, what is going
Dude, the
on?
stilettos messed me up this time too.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'd probably change my shoes if I was running.
Yeah. And you're like, you have no idea going into it why she would be running like this. So you're just kind of like, man, this is so strange. Like, what an odd choice.
I didn't even notice that she had stilettos on.
I did because it was like because I have my surround sound on here, click 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 click, click.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is she wearing heels? And then just that part of my brain kicks in. I'm like, you're not gonna be able to run in those heels, lady.
Yeah. Well, they're bright red, and I think Derek's like partially colorblind. So.
I mean, the version I watched was in black and white.
He watched it on one of their. He watched it on one of their TVs.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I want to talk about this, guys.
Yes.
Derek. Well, first, Derek, what did you think of the opening? Before we move on,
I thought it was effective. It definitely made you I think, more intrigued as to what's going on. So you're
Sets up the
anticipating.
mystery.
Yeah, because you're anticipating the reveal. Like, okay, that was strange. So what is this about? And so it's. I think it's really effective the way they did it.
Yeah. So I mentioned it slightly just a few seconds ago, but this movie has a timeless quality. We don't know when it's set.
Right.
Because it mixes tons of technology. We have old CRTVs with bunny ears, cell phones. She's reading a Kindle on a weird shell.
Yeah.
She has a shell Kindle. So some of the what's his name's car is an old station wagon, but there's also modern cars. It's like what do you guys think of that? That's like the dreamlike quality.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here's the thing, like, now that you pointed out, it was like a smorgasbord of like period pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really like. I just assumed that it was set in like the early '90s, but you're right. Now that thinking about it, I was like, "There's no way." First off, I've never seen a Kindle on a little shelled thing. They look more like a compact.
Yeah.
Now that you say that, I'm
mirror,
like,
compact mirror. Yeah.
yeah, and that totally makes sense. Although I didn't notice many cell phones. I'm sure they were in there.
She uses a cell phone at the beginning to call her parents.
Oh, you're
right. The opening.
Man,
but then they're not mentioned. Yeah, well, they're not mentioned again. And you know why? You know why it went over your head? It's because we, as an audience, that was 2015. Even in 2015, we're so programmed. Cell phones are part of our everyday lives.
Yes.
It didn't
recording
seem
this
out of
on
place.
one.
Yeah.
It didn't seem out of place. We didn't even think about it. And then when we take it away, we're kind of like, oh, where are the cell phones? But it's just, I guess it's more effective if you don't have one for this kind of story.
The only thing that, I mean, the one thing that really drew me back to thinking this movie was in like the 90s or the late 80s was the TVs. I noticed the TVs and just how old they were. And I'm like, oh,
all
they
of
gotta
them.
be set in, yeah. So,
and they're
the
always,
whole house.
Yeah. The whole house, the neighborhood itself, except for certain areas. Certain areas look more modern. Certain areas look more. It's set in Detroit. The movie's set in Detroit. They have a reference to 8 Mile.
Reference.
Yeah, they do an 8 Mile reference where once they hit that 8 Mile, that's when they're in Detroit proper, because they're in the suburbs of Detroit, essentially. So it's really, I think that's a really interesting directorial choice. Another thing that's, I think, is an interesting directorial choice is the pacing of this movie, because it takes its time. It's not in a hurry. And we just get, one thing I will say right up front is I think it's gorgeously shot. I think the cinematography is really, really great in this movie.
Agreed.
So yeah, the thing I love most about this movie, I think, the score. I like the score a lot.
Score is fantastic. Yeah,
definitely had that vibe of being an older film. That's also another thing that made me think
the Carpenter vibe. Yeah.
The score really struck with me.
Yeah, the score is great and the cinematography is great because we get a lot of those just static wide shots, which is cinema, and so I really enjoy that. So what do you guys think of the setup of her with Hugh/Jeff?
What a shitty ass thing for somebody to do.
Yeah, he's a terrible person. He sucks.
Not to mention he's a total idiot.
Oh yeah.
I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, like, obviously it's bad, but like he seemed like he was probably just a normal guy, like.
I mean, it's pretty bad.
Like
you're
trying to survive.
Yeah, you're essentially sentencing someone to death, though. I mean, it's like, yeah, guess what? Now your life sucks too.
Is he still in high school?
That's a good point, actually.
He's
out of high school at this point.
He's out of high school now. Yeah.
Man,
he's an adult. He's 21. I know he's 21 because she says it in the movie.
Yeah.
When they're playing their weird game. Their weird game that, by the way, nobody ever plays in the entire history of the world. It cracked me up. I was like, that's totally a made-up movie game.
Yeah.
Don't even.
Yeah.
There's a game we used to play where we used to just close our eyes and look around at people and just pretend that we have switched lives with them. It's like, what? I've never done that in my life. We used to play games where we look at people and we'd make up fake dialogue for them.
Yes. That's the real game there.
That's the real game. Oh, I love you. Oh, I hate you. Yeah.
Not to mention, like, he definitely missed an opportunity right there for him to be like, oh man, I totally switched places with you. And then when she says why, like, because I'm a great guy. Anyway, that's how I mac on girls.
That's how Derek flirts, ladies.
That's why, Derek is off the market because of moves, lines like that.
That's
Yep.
right. Quincy was really
I mean-
impressed with my calculator skills.
She. There's a pot for every kettle, Derek. So I like the setup for it. I think it's set up nicely because we find, the way that we find out that they're just kind of casually dating, and he's been trying to have sex with her. She's not ready for it, and we get that scene in the movie theater where he freaks out, and because he's like, that girl right there. She's like, there's nobody there, and he's like, I don't feel good. Let's get out of here. It's like, So first of all, before we continue, I'll tell you my plan for this, right? My
Okay.
plan to defeat it. It's not necessarily defeat, it's more of a run out the clock kind of scenario. So we know that it walks extremely slow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, hear me out. Fly across the country, or across the world, another country. Stay there for about 5-6 years. When it finally catches up, fly back. Then just keep doing that, and you'll run out the clock, baby.
So similar to what I was thinking, I would have, if I were him, I'd have been like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna become a truck driver.
Always on the road.
Let that thing follow me across the country. Or if you're her, get with a truck driver.
You don't think she could be a truck driver, Derek? How sexist is that?
Well, no, but wouldn't have to she wouldn't have to do that.
Yeah, she's gonna have to commit to that.
Yeah, because all she'd have to do is get with a moderately decent looking one that doesn't smell bad.
And
say that most of my family members, just to clarify, are truck drivers. Not that I'm saying they
And that's why
smell
you think
bad.
they're
I'm
stinky.
digging
That's
this
why you're
hole
Yeah,
digging
myself.
stinky truck driver family.
I am digging this hole myself, and I apologize.
I mean, his
But
brother
anyway,
did shit himself.
That's true.
That's right. Well, and then
We all know
she
it.
gave it, yeah, and if she gave it to somebody who was moderately attractive, there's no way he's not going to give that to somebody else.
Oh, I see.
Then
what
it's
you're
going to
saying.
keep coming back to him, and he's going around the country. She's home free.
That's actually a pretty foolproof plan, Derek. Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
So,
Or
The scene-
maybe give it to like a pilot of like
Yeah.
yeah, there you go.
Or become
Because
an
he goes port
astronaut.
to port as well, right?
yeah.
Go live on the space station.
Oh, well, then you're home free. You're safe forever. Because I'm telling you, it's not
Until
walking
it
in
catches
space.
a ride. Yeah, until it catches a ride on the next shuttle.
Oh my
Then
god.
you're SOL.
That should have been the sequel. It follows you to space. A slight frown. So the scene where he passes it on is pretty great.
It's
Yeah. It's
It takes you
disturbing.
by surprise. Yeah, well, it's so disturbing, but it takes you by surprise. Because
Yeah.
although he
Yeah.
just had that weird interaction, you don't expect him to crawl on top of her and then freaking put
Chloroform her?
Yeah.
chloroform.
Because it really seems like such a normal thing that's like, I mean, they're just like teenagers on a date, like, and you kind of see
Young
them.
adults. Yeah.
They're,
Yeah.
whatever they are. I don't know how old they are.
Yeah.
21, I
He's
guess.
21. She's in high school or college, I think.
No, I think she's in college.
Yeah.
Well, either way, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're kids.
They're kids. Yeah, they're young.
So
yeah, no,
I don't know.
no,
it just
you're
seems-
right.
Old.
Yeah, and like you could just tell that they like each other, and like I don't know, you just kind of rooting for them a little bit, and then when that happens, that switch, and yeah, it's very shocking.
And the fact that because here's the rub, right? He doesn't want her to die
Yeah.
because he needs her to stay alive.
Yeah.
Because if she dies, it comes for him again. So he needs her alive. So we get the whole wheelchair scene, and then he drops her back off at home. But he's hoping that she'll just pass it on down the chain, and the chain will keep growing, and buy everybody time. But yeah, it's a great scene. It's a great setup for the story to kick off.
Yeah, and there's a scene that she has with her sister, and her sister's talking about him and how they both like him. Like they think he's a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when he does that and it's all revealed, you're just like, boy, you really like had everybody fooled.
Yeah,
terrible.
I mean, he used a fake name and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rented a house that had nothing in it. Yeah.
I don't know if he rented that house, man. It looked like a crack house.
Yeah, that's a good point. That was his empty house.
She said that the police said that he rented it under a false name. Remember?
He must have got a deal.
Yeah,
on that
but
rent.
then you look at the house and you're like, who's renting that house out? And then
so I think he did rent it out, but he just never moved anything in, just a mattress. Because he was just there to find a girl to push it onto. Because then he moved back home.
A little weird.
Let me, like at the end of this, let me tell you the story about the strange house that we pass every time we go to Noblesville.
Okay, house, got it. House and snakes, got it.
Yep.
So we get a good chunk of this movie, nothing happens really. It's just, the tension, the building, the anticipation of it. She sees it a couple different times, like at the school and such. But then we get the first real big scare is when it breaks into her house. When Paul, who's got a huge crush on her, is staying the night. Lydia, you talked about this last week with the tall guy.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
I love it. I think it's so creepy.
I agree. I think the tall guy coming in is actually really scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know why it worked here?
Because it was
a
real.
real guy.
Yeah.
A real tall guy. Yep.
Yeah.
An actual guy.
An actual real guy. Yeah. And the fact that because the switch happened, because you're expecting, because we saw the woman, which by the way, Derek, I got to ask you, how did you feel about the woman peeing herself in the kitchen?
Oh my God, I've noted it in my mind. I'm like, this is so unnecessary. Why is she doing that?
I knew that would disturb you so much.
It did. I'm like, this is not cool. Not cool. No need.
Yeah, it's really effective. It's really effective because she's like got her boob hanging out and she's like fucked up and she's peeing
this
on the
scene. I really like this scene a lot because, like earlier when they're watching those weird old TVs, and they're watching these old movies, and you kind of hear the music from it, and this music is very similar to those old movies, and it made me think like how effectively scary that music was back then, and like even though now we look at it and we're like, that's really cheesy and not scary at all, that was probably terrifying just to hear that and to see those things.
You know what? Here's the thing. I think that
some of
that music is still effective if it has the right images over it.
Yes, exactly. It's crazy.
Then they had like some, I don't know, was it like a dinosaur shooting a spaceman?
Yeah.
In one of them, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Just some old stuff.
Sci-fi movie. Yeah. Yeah, I really liked this scene a lot because that scare really does work pretty well.
Yeah, I really liked it a lot, even though
could you imagine? Yeah, and just to imagine, like at this point, everybody thinks she's kind of like gone nuts.
Crazy.
Yeah,
she reported this to the police because we didn't really talk about this. He drives up.
Yeah,
we don't need to, but
drops her off at her house,
throws her out. Yeah,
pretty much, and then speeds off. So like she contacts the police. It was all consensual. They like go and investigate the building and everything. And at this point, everybody's just kind of like, okay, that's
like,
weird.
She's not lying.
She must be traumatized when she starts talking about this person who is following her around, or entity, or whatever it is. But yeah, her friends all think she's crazy until
which we're getting to, they all travel to the
beach house.
They all travel to the beach house. Guys, this beach house section is a really cool section. The scare where it's walking up behind her is really good.
Yes.
It is really good. I like it.
Because the tension's just building. Because we see it. She's the only one that can see it, and her back's to it. So they don't say, hey, there's somebody behind you. We see her friends out in the water. They're all sitting around. And then her hair gets pulled up. And
her friends
Paul
see that.
Whacks it. Yeah. So Paul whacks it, and it breaks a chair over its back, and then it flings him across the beach. And then she shoots it in the neck.
Yeah.
And it gets back up and breaks the door. And then that little kid version crawls out. And then it's a woman again, and she takes the car and zooms off. What do you guys think of this whole section?
Yeah, and like Jake noticed that kid was the like neighborhood kid
That was riding the bike.
And it made me think like so many of these people are probably in the background of all the shots that you'd have to watch it several more times to probably notice exactly who these people are. But
yeah, so there's the two kids. The one kid that reminds me of Derek because he's peeking through her windows.
I don't do that.
Well, you kind of did climb into your ex-girlfriend's window all the time.
I know, but I mean, it's not like I was peeking in there. She was expecting
That's true.
me to show up. And...
That's actually more young Jay, isn't it?
Yeah, that's 100% young Jay, except there's no outlet for him to blow the fuse for the entire building and shut everything down.
For the building. Yeah. But no, there's those two perfect kids, which are really funny. Because she doesn't care. That's why it's funny. It's because she just like, I see you guys. Yeah, look at me in my bathing suit.
Yeah.
I will say, I'm pretty sure that the girl who urinated on the floor is the girl who died at the beginning of the movie.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think it is her.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's her too. So after the beach house, we get like they're trying to track down the this guy, this Hugh guy. So they end up finding him and they track him down, and he tells her, yeah. So basically, here's what's happening. You got to run because if it, explains the rules, which is it kills whoever has it last. So if you pass it on, it moves it down the chain, and you buy yourself time. So the rules are kind of clear when it comes to that. I have a gripe a little bit later about the rules, and we'll talk about them. But that's pretty clear. Should I talk about it now or later? No, let's talk about it now. We reviewed Smile. We reviewed Smile a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Yep.
And it's kind of a similar idea. I think this one is just executed way cleaner and way better.
Yes.
What do you think, Derek?
Yeah, no. The one thing that I think it does, I can't think of a time when it violates it. It sets the rules. They're simple.
It sticks to them. Yeah.
Yeah, it sticks to them. There's no like flaw in. I mean, how hard is it to just be like, oh, you had sex with somebody, you gave them this thing, and this thing walks and tries to kill you. Like, it's pretty simple. You can't really screw that up. And they followed through with it. I never saw it run one time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a joke, and you guys, it was a good one too. I'm not going to say it again.
I think Jamie's having problems with his hearing right now.
Maybe. No, I am going to have to say it again because it was a good one.
I don't get it.
You don't get it?
Yeah, what's the joke?
I never saw it run one time because it walks everywhere. Well, I will work on my material.
So, hang on one second.
He was just gonna jump in, like he heard everything.
No, I did not. My my headphones literally died or something. I don't know. It disconnected.
Yeah.
It completely disconnected. So I had to plug them in. I was like,
You're muted.
"You're muted."
No, don't say it. I recognized it.
Give me just
We're gonna
one
have
second,
to cut all
guys.
this out.
I'm gonna try to reconnect these.
What a catastrophe.
It is. I should probably turn these on.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I don't know. This is really weird. Like I just heard like a dee-doo-dee-doo, and then you just kept talking. I couldn't hear you, so I plugged in my headphones, and then it was like really bassy and weird. So I was like, I don't know what's going on. Anyway.
All right, I'm going to say this joke one more time.
Okay, and then I can cut it. It's fine.
Can you guys hear
Jamie,
me?
just laugh at whatever he says. Okay, it's
Yes,
really
I can hear
funny.
You can't hear me now?
All right. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you
Yes.
the whole time.
Okay, I too had headphones. Okay. All right, I'm going to say
Weird.
this joke one more time. And Jamie,
Okay.
you tell me if I need to work on it. I said that they stuck to the rules. They did a good job. I mean, I never saw this thing run once. All right, it was a dumb joke.
Where's the joke? I was like, you're
It didn't run
right.
because it walks everywhere.
I know. That's what I just was agreeing. You're right. It didn't run once.
You know what?
That's not a joke. That's an observation. Derek.
No, it was a really good joke.
That's like me saying, your shirt, it's black. It's not red.
That's completely out of context for nothing that we were talking about.
Oh my God. Anyway, yeah, so she wrecks. She wakes up in the hospital, and the good old neighbor boy, Greg, whose car she wrecked and whose beach house they were at, she decides to pass the curse on to him because he doesn't think this is really happening because he didn't see any of it.
Yeah, and he knows it
Yeah,
was consensual, and so he is accepting these terms, and also the friends know. It's not like at first I was like, they're just getting together, like he's been setting it up this whole time, but then they question him. They're like, "You haven't seen anything," so they know.
So here's the real thing. He doesn't believe it because he didn't see any of it. So he's just hooking up with her because she's wanting to hook up.
Yeah, that is also true.
Because we also see him looking at the other friend, like when she's like up on the counter, he's like oogling her as well. They're like, this guy's just a fuck boy. This is a fuck boy.
Well, you know.
So I was confused because you see him with with a group of girls. So I was wondering if he was going to pass it off to them, but we never hear anything about it. But I think he did because it doesn't find him for a long time, several days, in fact.
That is true.
And he said, I haven't seen it once. Because if he hooked up with those girls, it would have killed them first.
Yeah.
Then we get one of the most effective scenes in the movie, in my opinion, which is the attack on Greg. What do you guys think of this?
Yeah, this is a good one.
We do see her moving.
That's what you have to say, Derek.
Other than the
Oh
fact
my
that it's got to be traumatizing, because I'm not sure, how did she kill him? Did she choke him? Because it was
no,
really
she fucked him to death.
That's what it seemed like to me.
That's what it does. It basically grinds them, breaks their limbs, and basically kind of fucks them to death. Yeah.
Okay, because at first I thought it was the sloth demon, but now I'm questioning
Yeah.
which one it is. But
so it's really cool because she thinks she sees Greg outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she sees it break the window and she's like, oh my God, it's it. She follows it in and sees Greg's mom just knocking on the door, turns and looks at her, which is creepy.
And she's just like waiting for it to like maybe react to her.
Yeah, yeah. And then he opens the door. He's like, "Mom, what the fuck?" And she just grabs him and starts choking, slams him down, and then fucks him to death. And breaks his
All right,
arms.
I got a new plan. You ready for this plan?
Yeah.
All right, you become a truck driver. You wait for it to get on the East Coast. You drive all the way to Nevada. You hook up at like that one ranch that was on TV.
Bunny Ranch.
And yeah, and then you're pretty much, you can just go and do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's true. I do
By the
multiple
time
clients.
it gets close, like they're gonna,
Yeah, yeah. That's a good idea
gotta
too.
be smarter than the sloth demon is what you got to do.
Actually, I was thinking about this. What if you had sex with it consensually, then it itself was infected? Does it kill itself?
Isn't that kind of what it does?
I don't think that. It's the non-consensual part that's the problem.
Yeah, so it has to be consensual. So then it creates like a loop. So then it like has to or what if you like, hear me out, what if you like have sex with like a tree or something?
I don't know if that counts.
Oh.
It's a good question.
Yeah,
I mean,
what happens if you like pleasure yourself, or do you pass it on to yourself again?
Right. You come back to the tree the next day and it's like all dead and like shriveled up.
Yeah, you're like,
It did not work. Got splinters in my dick for no reason.
I do have a question, and we're not there yet, and I don't necessarily.
What do you want to just wait for it?
Chronological order. I'm so curious what you guys think. I actually think that.
Are we going to talk about the ending? Because we'll wait till we get there to talk about it. It's the ending.
Are you talking about H2O?
No. Oh yeah. The whole ending.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay. Because we just really have a couple more scenes to get to it. Because essentially, she drives off after she sees that, and she ends up at that
lake house again.
Goes to the beach. Yeah, goes back to the beach house, and she sees those guys. Now, does she sleep with those guys?
100%.
Or does she not?
Does. She does.
You think she does?
I'm like.
I think we don't know.
Yeah, it's left ambiguous.
Yeah.
It is ambiguous for sure, but
her cast was wet. We do know that much.
Totally
she did get in the water. We see her get in the water. Yeah.
That's all we know.
Yeah.
But there's a long period of time that passes.
There's well, we don't know how much time passes. I guess
it seems like
no. Yeah, we don't really know. We know that she's still just waiting. We know that Paul comes over and says, why'd you sleep with Greg and not me?
Yeah.
Like, well, come on, man. Because look at you, Paul. You suck. No, she doesn't say that.
Yeah, probably. No, I'm kidding. I would have been Paul.
Yeah, we were all Paul. We were all Pauls on this podcast, Derek. We call this podcast the Paul Podcast.
Dude, so many great horror movies have
not be a Paul. You and I are definitely Paul.
So many great horror movies have a character named Paul.
Yep.
It's not a name that you hear like regularly anymore, Yeah. Just like Paul is like
Rudd.
From Halloween.
Yep. Paul Rudd.
Paul Giamatti.
From Halloween as well. From Halloween 6. But yeah, so this ending, guys, Derek, you're going to talk to it. How does he come up with the idea, by the way, that this is going to work? Because he just kind of looks at the picture.
Yeah, he looks at the picture
and sees her in the pool, and he's like, "Huh? I guess we'll try to electrocute it." I guess.
Honestly, it's the stupidest plan.
Not a great plan.
Especially because she already shot it, and it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea why they think that was going to work, but the reason why I think this thing might have some sort of like at least reservation for water is because it doesn't get in the water to
It
like
really
try to
doesn't
harm
get in the
her.
water.
It only gets in the
But
water when it gets shot and it falls into the water.
but I think that's also
Yeah.
partly due to all the electricity, all the things that were there to throw into the water.
Yeah,
Because
but
the plan was to electrocute it.
it
But you're
doesn't
right.
work.
It doesn't just go right in. Instead, it starts throwing stuff at her,
Yeah,
Yeah.
trying to get her out.
trying to get her out. But we've seen it in the rain and stuff before.
Well, yeah, but
I mean,
you know, it's a little different than. What if you went
maybe
to live in Hawaii? I mean, sure, your
I don't know. I always
cost of
guessed that it
living
would
is
walk
crazy.
underwater, but that would take forever. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, this plan, it's not the best plan. I mean, I like we've got a plan to fight it kind of third act thing, but it kind of doesn't feel like it organically gets there. It's just kind of like, let's try to electrocute it. And you're like, what? And then, so he shoots it. He shoots his friend, first of all, which is hilarious to me. I was
That
like,
is hilarious.
what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, it's very
Clear
shocking.
your fire lines.
Yeah.
And then
You don't
he,
You don't
yeah,
want to do that.
you don't just fire guns randomly. But, he shoots it in the head after they throw the blanket over it. It goes into the water and then it attacks her. It's holding on to her leg and he shoots it in the head and it lets go. And it's so when Jay looks into the water, she sees just nobody else can see anything, but she sees this, the whole water turning blood red, which
Cool
I guess
visual.
signifies that they heard it or at least they killed it or at least heard it
Not killed
more
it.
than it's ever been hurt. Well, we don't know.
Yeah.
So then we get the, what do you guys think of that, the whole pool scene?
I mean, other than the concept that they came up with of trying to electrocute it, I think it's effective. It definitely has I love the scene or the shot where they like throw the blanket over the thing to
Yeah.
give it a figure, which is really
And then
cool.
shoot it. It's really cool. Yeah.
It makes you wonder like what would have happened if they would have dumped like concrete on it or something that a really strong adhesive.
That's a good idea.
It really does seem to adhere to the physical rules of the world, right?
Yeah.
Like it can't just walk through walls or anything. If you lock yourself in a room,
Because it has to break the window to get through. Yeah.
it can't get in. Like if you
Yeah.
locked yourself in a bunker and lived in a bunker, it can't get
Yeah.
you.
It is strong though, because it did throw that guy like pretty far
It's
across
strong.
the beach.
Yeah, it's strong, but it has to adhere to the physical rules, which is, like you said, Derek. It's interesting that like when you throw a blanket over it, you see its form. Also, in the pool, it takes the form of her father who has died.
Her father, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's to really mess with her.
Yeah. I like the pool scene a lot, even though the idea is pretty stupid.
Yeah.
I think like for the movie it works. I like the visual of the pool. To me, pools are always kind of creepy at night. Like just something about water. I don't know. Kind of freaks me out. And like the danger that like water represents to me is freaky. And like they got it all set up with like all these old lamps and TVs and stuff.
Yeah, modern to them apparently. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows what time period they're what dimension they're in.
Yeah.
But
no, I too like the pool scene because I think it's like both of you said, I agree with all those things. I agree that it's silly. That doesn't make any sense. It's kind of nonsensical. At least the logic of how they got there. I mean, I empathize as a writer, as a screenwriter, especially a horror screenwriter. It's when you're creating fantasy elements. I kind of ran into this when I was writing the first draft of Ghost Talk. You have your rules set, and you kind of how you want it to end, but you're like, well, we need to figure out how they figure out how to make it end. I remember having that struggle at first, and until I got further along, and I think we cracked it. Right, Derek? I think we cracked it finally.
Yeah.
But but I was like, well, what's the overall arc here? What are we trying to do? So I empathize with that, but I think as a set piece, it works great because the visual of it is great. The tension is good because it's really cool that it's throwing all these appliances into the water and at her. Some of them are electrocuting, but it's not working like they thought it would.
It hits her once.
But they are hitting her with shit. It's trying to hit her with shit.
Yeah.
And then that visual of the pool filling with blood is really cool, and that only she can see.
I felt
Go ahead.
Sorry, I felt like watching this time. I felt like some of the symbolism in this was like personal to the director or the writer. Like something about like some of yeah, it's like this must be like personal stuff that they put in here, and that's why it's just kind of like, you know, kind of hard, like kind of cryptic, because it's like only that one person would know what it meant.
Yeah, well, it's also up to the audience to interpret.
Yeah,
which is fine.
Yes,
you know, I like some. You don't have to handhold the audience all the time. Now, you want your rules to be concise and clear, which is what my problem with Smile was, is that the rules were kind of murky. Actually, the rules just didn't exist in Smile. That's what we figured out. We were like, are there really rules?
Yeah, there were no rules in that movie.
But in this one, there's, they set the rules and they're there. What I was saying about the rules earlier is that we didn't have a logical reason for them to jump to this conclusion that this would defeat it. There wasn't a scene where they're like, well, I researched this, and every time that this happens, there's never been an occurrence of it happening in water.
Yeah.
And then
maybe
like,
they just felt like, I mean, if you're logically thinking about it, you tend to slow down in water because there's resistance.
I think the reason he thought about it's laid out in the script. The reason he thought about it is because it was the place that they first kissed.
Yeah. And they clearly have something for the water. Like, she's in a pool and like
all the time.
Several scenes.
Yeah. And so it's like that he saw the picture of her in the water and he's like, maybe this is the answer. But it's just, it's one of those cryptic things. It's not a downfall of the movie or anything. It's just less clear. And
maybe that's something to do with like the dream-like quality, like something about dreams of water, like dream
swimming. Logic, man. But
stuff like that. I don't know.
They end up hooking up, Jay and Paul. She passes it on to him, and then he thinks about passing it on to a hooker, but we don't know if he does or not because he hesitates and it just keeps driving. And so at the end of the movie, they're walking together hand in hand. They haven't seen it in a while, but they're kind of together. So technically, they just pass it back and forth between each other, I guess. And then we see somebody walking behind them. Now, is it or is it not? We don't know. I mean, that's the point of the last shot is it's up to you. Did they defeat it or did they not? You decide. It's for you to decide, which I love. I love those kind of ambiguous endings where it kind of ties up a story, which it did.
Yeah.
Also, the movie is obviously like an allegory for sexually transmitted diseases, the stigma of sexually transmitted diseases, and finding somebody that accepts you for that, which is what she finds with Paul at the end. Which is why I think it doesn't matter if it's following anymore, because she's found acceptance in that. That's me putting on my analytical cap. I'll take it off and put on my fun horror movie cap.
Yeah, I might
still be after him, dude. Who knows?
I try to do that. I try to like overanalyze movies like this, and then I get like a little bit like too
into the weeds,
overthinking, like, and then I'm just I confuse myself. Like, what is this movie talking about?
What do you guys think of the ending?
I like it. I like them walking down the street. I don't know how I feel about, like, I guess you're right, like when you say it, like finding like acceptance for that kind of stuff, but like it's kind of weird that they're together. Like when she it seems like she looked at him, Not in that way.
Kind of. I think she's flip-flopping on it because
Yeah.
there's the scene of them when they're in the living room together before the house attack.
Mhm.
And she's like, you were my first kiss, and she's moving her feet closer to him and stuff.
Mhm.
So it's like, she likes him, but
Like she loves him because they've grown up together. Like they've always been around each other.
and
So
he
it's
is
like
in love with him.
confusing.
I think
Yeah,
after
he's like
that
very in
point,
love.
but I think after all the shit they went through, she probably fell in love with him as well. Like,
Yeah.
he did just help me defeat a monster, maybe, or at least
Yeah.
slow it down. What do you think of the ending, Derek?
I think it's fine. I think it does leave you with the wondering what happens, and so that I don't know. Depends on if you like those movies. I like it whenever they don't leave it ambiguous, but that's just me. It's like at the end of Inception, and you're like, was it teetering? But either
Inception's that's also up to.
Yeah.
Real quick tangent about it. Inception is it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter to
Mhm.
Cobb. It doesn't matter to Cobb
Yeah.
anymore. He found his family. That's all that matters. And
Yeah.
it's up to you if it teeters or not. You
Yeah.
see. But
But,
I remember that moment in the theater for Inception, and we're zooming in, and then it cuts, and everybody was like, "Oh!" It was fucking glorious. It was excellent. I personally like ambiguous endings if they're done right and it's the right kind of movie. Do I think a movie like like a slasher movie needs to necessarily be ambiguous? Kind of, because you want to keep your killer alive, right? So you can make sequels.
Right.
But do I think like Scream? Does Scream need to end, ambiguously? No. They need to kill the killers, move on to the next one. But like a movie like this, yeah, leave the ending ambiguous. Who knows? Who knows? It's up to you.
Yeah, I do think of the movies we've watched recently, like this is the most appropriate scenario for this movie and situation to leave it that way. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it at all.
Like I said, the John Carpenter influences, because it ends kind of like Halloween, right? I mean, how does Halloween end? Dr. Loomis shoots him off the balcony. He looks, he's gone. We hear the shape breathing in the wind. Is he there? Is he alive? It's up to you to decide.
Yeah.
The evil's still out there. In this one, we get a closure. They're set, but we see somebody in the background. Is that it? It's up to you. You decide. Which is, I think, the most appropriate. And I don't think I could have I never would have ended this movie any other way than having them walk somewhere and have something in the background. Just so that way you're thinking. So yeah, I really like the ending. And that was It Follows. The performances, we didn't talk much about them, but they're all very strong across the board.
Yeah.
I think that Micah Monroe, who plays Jamie or Jay, is great in it. I think she puts in a really great performance.
Mm-hmm.
And all the other actors are very strong across the board, especially that naked dude just standing on the roof.
Oh my god! That
was freaky.
This is, I'm going to go on a little slight tangent for a second. This is a modern horror movie thing, by the way. And they're trying to make it happen, especially like in, Robert Eggers movies and such, which is naked people are scary, apparently. Like you think about like Hereditary. Think about Hereditary. Just a bunch of, we see a bunch of old naked people. Think about Midsommar.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of old naked people. This movie, a bunch of just different naked people, but old naked people too.
Yeah, and The Visit.
The Visit, old naked people.
Yep. Well, an old naked lady, anyways.
Yeah. It, old CGI naked lady.
Yeah.
A Smile, giant naked lady.
I think there's a reason for that. I think because that is a true scary thing that that you have to face, you know.
Well, it
Naked
also
ladies
just
aren't a fear of
makes
mine.
you
The
in
opposite, in fact.
But your own naked self aging is a scary thing.
I guess maybe.
well. I mean,
It-
it also is un- unless it's the right context, it's super uncomfortable.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
When you see
That's
that,
why it
and
works in this, is
Yeah.
because it's just like, why would you be expecting to see a naked man standing on a porch? First of all, though, as great as that shot is, I have some questions.
How did it get on the
Why
roof?
did it?
Why is he
Why
on the
did
roof?
it decide that
To get on the
standing on
roof.
the roof was the best course to try to do anything?
Yeah.
Especially since it had just killed him. So shouldn't it be trying to make its way to her? That's fine. But it's a cool shot. Now was It Follows. Lydia, what are you going to give It Follows?
Shoot. Dang.
Paul Cougar. Duck lips.
I think I'm gonna give it I'm gonna give it an 8.5. I think it's really strong. It did scare me the first time I watched it. And I think it's so suspenseful. Yeah, I think it's very entertaining. I always try to bring it up to people. Like I'm like, have you seen It Follows? You know, like I'm always like, because I do think it's really good. I don't know. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Derek, what do you think?
I am gonna give this movie a 7. I do think it's pretty solid. This is the second time I've watched it. I did enjoy it. I think it could. There are definitely points in the movie where it just is so mellow. You know what I mean? And so, like, they could have heightened it a little bit to make it a little bit more. Not that it. I don't think it really drags necessarily, but you can feel the length of the movie. It's not a super long movie, but you can feel the length of the movie just because there are points that are just so mellow. That's really the only critique I have. But yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a good movie. I'll probably watch it again at some point. I'd recommend it.
Yeah, I'm going to be like kind of in between both of you. I'm thinking about an 7.5 to 8. Probably more 7.5. But I think it's really good. I think it's a lot of fun. I just enjoy being in the world of it. Like I enjoy the shots. I enjoy the filmmaking behind it. I think it's just gorgeous to look at. I think the music's so strong too. And those slower paced bits I like because it kind of builds tension. The movie's only 100 minutes, so it's about 20 minutes more than a good fashion slasher should be. But for a movie like this, 100 minutes is a good length. So it's a little slow at points, but an hour and a half is, just over an hour and a half, not too bad. So yeah, there's not much to complain with for me either. I don't think it's scary. It didn't scare me then. It doesn't scare me now. The concept is really cool, but just the visuals and stuff, I wasn't like scared. But I was like, oh, that's creepy. Ooh, that would be creepy if that happened. So I had those moments, and I really connected with the characters, especially Jay. I connect with her and the situation. So I'm like in it. So yeah, I'm gonna say 7.5, 7.5.
I think I just thought about it and I really like a few things that like she tells the police like exactly what happened. That almost never happens in a movie like this, where they actually just like tell people about it. Like,
yeah.
They always are like running or lying or like, avoiding. They're just like, well, this is what happened. I don't know,
Yeah, it's interesting. We only see
and all the
Jay's
friends
mom.
believe her for the most part.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, once they believe her after they see it, they're just there to help her at first.
Yeah.
But her mom's only in one scene, two, the hospital scene and that scene where she's sitting at the table.
Yeah, which I think
So
is cool.
it's
What's
that theme of
absent
unreliable
parents?
parents,
Yeah.
absentee parents.
But they
Yeah,
do show her. It's not like
yeah,
gone
yeah.
parents, you know.
No. So
Which
yeah,
I thought that was good too.
good movie. I
I
liked it.
also I wanted to ask you guys what you guys thought of the school scene where there's two different school scenes. The one where the old lady's walking,
Hmm.
pretty good, right? And then the
Yeah,
other one where that shot of like the full circle, like he does like two, like the camera itself
yeah,
does two just
yeah. That's really good
circles.
when they're in the when they go to the school to get the yearbook for old Jeff.
Yes.
There's a shot that's really weird to me, and I after it was over, I was like, I wonder why he decided. After they leave, we kind of just zoom in on the yearbook, and it's just tension building, and nothing happens.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's just a fake tension scare. That's what that is, because you're going looking for oh, it's in the background, and it just cuts to the next scene. And I was like, oh, I see why now. Because I was like, why is that there? And the more I thought about it, I was like, ah, I see. That makes sense.
I
So
just had
yeah,
to bring those up.
good movie, good pick. We all liked it. Derek, it is your turn to pick next week's movie. But before we do, we have got to Atkinize It Follows.
That's why God made fathers, babe. That's why God made fathers.
Who would Tom Atkins play, and why is it the neighbor?
Yeah. Yep.
Why is it the neighbor?
Yeah, the neighbor
The one
that
who
gets laid.
dies?
Yeah, I mean
Oh.
he gets laid, and then he technically gets laid twice. Except what would happen in the Tom Atkins version is it would have sex with Tom Atkins and then just stay with Tom Atkins, and the
Yeah.
movie would end.
Yeah. He probably just like wouldn't kill him or something, you know?
Yeah, well, they would have sex, and it's like, oh, I like this, and then the next shot is just smoking cigarettes. He's like, hey, go grab me a beer.
Yeah. Just comes back as a different person.
Yeah, I'm the hotter person. Just
Yeah.
keeps getting hotter. Trying to match his hotness.
Yeah. Oh
I
my
like
gosh.
this new version of this movie.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think
called-
it probably would be him.
It's called It Follows Tom Atkins Everywhere.
That
Can't
just
get rid of
reminded me.
it. It's just always here.
Yeah, that just reminded me that when I looked it up on IMDb, there was what looked like a sequel, but it said it was a short, but its title
Oh,
made me
really?
laugh and it made me think of Derek because it said it follows two slowly.
That's got to be a fake thing. Yeah.
I think it must be a spoof or something, but it said
Yeah.
it was a short, so I didn't click on it. I just thought that was a pretty great Derek title.
Yeah, it's a comedy short. I'm looking at it right now. It's 7 minutes long. What if you caught a paranormal STD? In this parody of the film It Follows, a modern woman gets it, and her friends must continue living despite this horribly contagious walker. So it's like a parody. And that does sound like a Derek title, though. Derek, what are we watching next week? And please don't say it. Please say something else.
Please say Wrong Turn.
Well, I cannot disappoint the
Nobody's going to be disappointed. Nobody wants
massive
to watch this.
audience that we have.
No, don't do it, please.
I mean, I would be going against what I said.
No,
I can't be
don't
that
do it.
guy. I
Please,
can't be a
I'll do
liar.
anything. You're already a liar. You lie all the time.
I don't lie all the time. I'm a very
There's a lie right there.
truthworthy person. I don't lie a lot. Only to my wife.
What is it, Derek? What's it going to be?
All right,
Oh.
guys. I told you what it was going to be. I'm going to stick to it.
You don't
Bear.
realize we We all have to rent this movie. You know that, right?
Yep, we're gonna be the
It's
only
not
rent.
streaming anywhere.
Derek's
Yep,
buying.
we are gonna be the only revenue that this studio receives for the month of June. And
Oh,
that's okay. We are gonna watch Pooh, Blood, and Honey.
Derek, just so you know, this movie literally has a 2 out of 5 stars.
That's probably what we're gonna rate. What we're gonna rate it.
Why do we have to watch this?
A
God.
2 out of 10.
4.
Are
Are you guys not intrigued whatsoever?
This movie's
I'm a
going
little
to
bit
be $10 to rent. I just looked it up. It's $10 to rent this.
Is it?
Derek,
Yes.
you
I
must
think we should
reconsider.
wait till it comes out. Till like it's available for free. Because that's a
Wait,
lot.
is it? It's out, right? It's been out for a while.
It's out, but like it's still like kind of pay-per-view-ish. So you can rent it for $10 to purchase it for $20 on Amazon.
All right, now that does change things.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
lot
know
of
if I
money.
wanna. I don't know if I wanna pony up that type of cash for this movie.
We'll watch it when it's streaming, like when it's on Netflix. Then you could pick it, and we'll be perfectly fine with it. Because that's a
No,
lot of money.
I say we do it. I even have to buy your guys' tickets. We're
Dude,
gonna watch it.
Come on, no. Let's
Nah.
just wait. Let's
I
just
can't.
wait.
I can't be I can't be a liar. Can't do
You're
it.
not a liar.
I have a reputation on
Maybe
this
we should-
podcast.
Maybe we should
Nobody
put it
even
to a
remembers.
vote and then like
Yeah.
have like Facebook decide if we
Oh,
do it
hey,
or
let's-
not.
let's put it to a vote between us and Derek, Lydia.
That is not fair.
That's not fair. I agree. That's not fair. I mean, if
Well,
Derek
you know
is
what?
gonna pay,
You know what?
Derek's gonna pay $30 for us to watch it. I
It
think
says
we
here-
have to watch it.
Now it looks like it's streaming for $5.
See, I'm
So half
saving
that
money
price.
already.
Oh God. I don't want to sit through this
How
shit.
long is it?
Too long. It exists.
It's
I mean, it
It's
can't be worse
95
than
minutes too
Lumberjack
long.
Man.
1 hour and 24 minutes.
Ooh, that's pretty long.
Yeah,
For a
we
Ready
gotta
for-
set up the-
Rent it for $5.99 or buy it for $12.99.
I
We
might
could just-
buy it. and
Is
then-
Amityville Backpack streaming anywhere?
I'd rather watch that.
Yeah, guys. I
looking it up.
think I'm
Damn
gonna
it.
have to stick with my pick. Pooh, Blood, and Honey.
All right, it's on Derek this time.
Oh, Amityville Backpack is still an Indiegogo, by the way, guys. It's still it's still trying to raise money.
Ah, damn! I was excited
Good luck.
about a haunted backpack.
Oh well, Lydia, if you're excited, you can put some money towards it. It's raised $5,210.
What's the
what
what are they
by
asking?
That's the goal. They hit their stretch goal.
Oh, well,
So yeah, their
Wait.
goal was they're now prepping the movie for production. So we're watching We're watching Pooh, Blood and Honey. It's available on Amazon. If you guys want to spend $5 on it, it's available on Amazon Prime. So you can watch it there. Derek, you said you had 2 stories, you piece of shit son of a bitch.
Yeah. I got 2. All right, you guys ready for this?
Yes.
Let's start with the house one. Okay. So the way that we take to go from our house to Noblesville, we always pass this like old house that looks like it at one point maybe burned down, and it's just really decrepit and half the house is missing. Anyway, nobody lives there. There is this shitty ass, I don't know if it was like a guest quarters or a barn that they converted. Anyway, somebody lives in the other one, like behind, like kind of adjacent to this on the same property. but the car is always different. So somebody actually lives there, and I'm pretty sure I've seen somebody out there. But like, this place has got to be condemned. It just has to be. Like, there's an air conditioner that's in the side of like one of the windows, and it's like half hanging out. I mean, like, I just don't understand why somebody would live there unless the rent's really cheap, or
Probably Hugh.
they're squatters.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah, that's
Probably
Hugh.
Hugh/Jeff or whatever.
Jeff.
It
Jeff's
probably
still
is.
running
You're
from it.
right.
Probably someone
Well,
running.
if some girl randomly wants to hook up with me, I'm gonna say nah. I'm married.
Well, that's probably a good thing to say, regardless of the It Follows.
I mean, it is, but yeah, I'm not getting
Like
any
now
cursed
he decided that.
Yeah, After the
STDs.
movie, he decided. He decided then. You had another story.
All right, so this is not my
Snakes.
story directly. Yep, this is somebody that Quincy works with. So like, it was her. This is always how these stories start. It was her son or somebody that she knows.
Oh, yeah. So this is
Yes.
bullshit, but continue.
It might be, but it sounds kind of legit. So this guy had like one of those big snakes, right? Like the constrictors.
Uh-huh.
He had it as a pet. Apparently, this guy liked to sleep with his snake in his bed.
Mm.
Okay, that is, I mean, it's a bit weird, but he was like, yeah, the snake started exhibiting some strange behavior. Like it would, like when we would go to sleep, it instead of like being curled up, it would stretch out, and it would like lay next to him. And so it did happen for a couple days, and he decided to take it to the vet, and was like, hey, this thing's happening. The vet's like, oh, it's sizing you up. It's trying to determine if it's big enough to eat you. I'm like,
Yeah.
he sold the
I've
snake.
heard that before. Yeah, I've heard that before.
I think
Yeah.
I might have told you this story before.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like an urban legend now.
It could be an
Yeah,
urban legend,
yeah.
but I
It could
definitely
be true.
could see some
Yeah.
people try to sleep with snakes, and
I don't know about sleeping with the snake, man.
I don't. There's no pet I want to sleep with, even my cat. I lock in a
Well, that's
room.
because you don't like the cat. You don't like the cat.
Well, that is true, but definitely
hear-
not a reptile.
Do you want to hear about my snake
Yes,
that I used to have? I don't have it anymore. Tried
to eat you.
No, it didn't try to eat me. It was the sweetest snake. He was the best boy. He was such a good boy. I really did not want to have to give him up, but it's just that, one of those like time in your life and you're like, oh, it's just a snake. Like he probably doesn't care about me. So I had to get rid of him. But during like moving and stuff. But so I went to the pet store one day and I'm like, I'm thinking about getting a little snake. I think it'd be fun. And there's this ball python. It's called a Woma pattern. And so he kind of looked like marbly and cool. He was really beautiful and pretty big. And he was kind of cheap. So I was like, what's wrong with this snake? Like, why is this guy so cheap? And they're like, oh, well, he has like a neurological disorder I think they called it wobble or something along those lines, where it couldn't differentiate up or down very well. Like he kind of would wobble like when he was trying to look around and stuff. And I don't know why, but like my heart went out to this little snake, and I was like, okay, I was bring him home. And he was the goodest boy. He was just a really good snake. He never bit anybody. He would lay in the bed with us and curl up, and I don't remember how long he was. Probably like 3.5, 4 feet maybe, but definitely not big enough to like eat us or anything. But
so was his name Wibble?
No, his name was Dipper.
Also appropriate, yeah.
Yeah.
Wibble wobble.
Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down.
Yes.
So, I have one snake story too. Is when we were young. Oh, those were the days. But we were kids, and we went on a fishing trip with my dad and my uncle. and we were all, out in the lake. It actually literally was named Crystal Lake, so luckily we didn't get our heads chopped off.
What?
But we were at this lake called Crystal Lake, and they were fishing, and we were swimming. And Dad was playing a game with us. Like he would grab a stick and he would throw it out, and he'd be like, "There's a snake!" And we'd scatter and run. And then he'd grab another stick, throw it in. "There's a snake!" And we'd gather and run. Well, then he looks up, and there's a snake.
Oh no.
And so he is afraid that we have been bored of the game. So instead of telling us there's a snake and being like, "Oh, nah, there's not," he just runs into the water. I think he even ran on top of it at this point. Runs in the water, scoops all of us off, and just runs off under the thing. And we're like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "There's a snake." And we look, and I see it. It's like treading the water.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, terrified.
That's
Like,
awesome.
good call, Dad. Way to just grab us. But
Yeah, if you
don't ever cry snake, ladies and gentlemen.
yes, he cried wolf with a
He
snake.
did. And then he was like, "Nope, not going to do it."
Yeah, at least he didn't like fall for it and like actually
Yeah.
yell snake again.
Yeah, snake. And then we're just like, whatever. So, guys, that's our show for this week. Tune in next week when we will be watching Pooh, Blood and Honey. See what I did there? Which is available on Amazon Prime. You can follow us on all of our socials. You can follow us on Instagram at Screen Bloody Movies. You can follow us on Twitter. Follow Derek at Derek D Doggy Master. Follow Lydia at Lydia Spooky. Follow me at Racket. Follow us online at HiLa Productions. You can follow us on Facebook at HiLa Productions as well. Stay tuned. Very soon you'll be getting an update on the next piece of entertainment that we're putting out besides this show. We are always working hard behind the scenes. Do you guys have anything else? Nope,
If
that
you want
does it.
some planty content, because I was mentioning my plants earlier, you can check me out at Lydia's Spooky Sprouts on Instagram and TikTok.
There you go. So until next week when we'll be watching when we'll be watching Pooh, Blood and Honey. For Lydia, Judy, and Derek Lemaster, I'm Jimmy Hiles. And remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies.